All right. Let me know if you could see Trading View.
Perfect.
All right. All right. So, as I mentioned, for anyone who's not new or who is new to my work or is not familiar with what I've been discussing lately, I have been talking about this repeat of a bull trap that will pretty much be happening as soon as the next week from us filming this on December 5th. And it very much feels like that energy, as you brought up moments ago, we're a little bit overheated. I'm going to be speaking about everything you need to know right now, even getting into some of the indicators that you could utilize to figure out when this relief rally is about to finish off. So, we're
Mhm.
going back to this last cycle. I don't want people to look at too much of this information. What I really want you to pay attention to is there's a fib pull from this swing high to this swing low through the year of 2011. And then we have this golden pocket territory, which is between the 618 and 786 fib. And we have this rally that finishes off, followed by a 50% correction almost instantaneously. And then we recover and we keep moving. And what I learned is Bitcoin tends to do this once we close a daily candle in the golden pocket. So that would be anything above that 618 fib. And if we go over, we could see that took about 10 days. And the rally from the daily open of that same candle to the top was about 40%. So I just want people to remember 40% and remember this golden pocket and the confirmation of closing above the 618. So we're going to move over to the next cycle. We have this same essence where we go and we could see closing the daily candle right here above the 618. And we have about a 40% rise. Took about 2 weeks in this situation. And then it led to a instant 30% correction, which went even deeper about a month later, 40%. So we're going to go over to this cycle. We just went through 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, 2019, getting into the summertime. We closed the daily candle, and from this candle closure up to the top, it was about 45%. All right. So 3 iterations, about 4 years apart, and we're having 40% moves, which lead to essentially an instant pullback of about 30%. And then we've gotten a much deeper pullback considering all things. Over here, it took about 47% off. Here you can see it continued even further, about 54%. Then we had a little bit of another bull trap before this black swan event, let's just call it. So we have one of those confirmations already met, and it happened back on, let me see, to be specific, it happened on this past Saturday. So we closed above this orange line in the golden pocket, and now we have literally just broken out since 44K Bitcoin. And if we were to consider the full move that we would get between 40 to 45% off of that move, you're looking at about Bitcoin heading into this 54 to 57K territory. So I'll show you as clean as I can. Got about a 45% move to $56,000.
Now, are you seeing this as a that's what we're in right now, Waters? Is this
At
what we're in right now, or is this what could come down the line a little bit?
mm. So this is what's happening as we speak because we've had this confirmation of closing a daily above the 618 fib. So the day that
Mhm.
we closed above 39K Bitcoin, the rally initiated after being essentially trapped in this very arduous slight higher highs, higher lows structure for 40 days. And we were
Mhm.
grinding. The moment we closed this candle above this particular confirmation, we broke out as expected. And again, it's been happening every single cycle with Bitcoin. So the idea of us going all the way up to 54, $56,000 Bitcoin, in my opinion, is very overextended. I did not anticipate this happening so early, but confirmations are confirmations. And as a technical analyst, we need to utilize the data and the charts. We can't be emotional about this, and our opinions
Mhm.
serve no purpose here. And what we're seeing now is also Bitcoin dominance regain. And this is why we're having some things like XRP and a lot of the coins across the board, especially on the breakout time frames, like these 4 hour to 8 hour candles where Bitcoin's getting a majority of the volume in the market. Well, we're seeing everything else pretty mellow. And what happens is when Bitcoin will stall out, it will then you'll see 30% gains in a random altcoin. So anyone who's been paying attention to the market over the past 5 to 6 days, that's pretty much the essence of what's been happening. We've been seeing out of nowhere 30% IOTA, 30% on Songbird. It's just rinse repeat. 30% on Casper this morning. We're going to continue to see that type of energy where out of nowhere coins are just going to flip and you'll see a lot of volume move into them. But whilst Bitcoin is in the process of finishing off this move, it will continue to steal dominance. And it's hard to determine if this is going to fold over and end up like an alt season kind of energy. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
too early for that type of stuff. But we have had isolated situations such as Chainlink and Solana. But when we have Bitcoin fulfill this move, then we could check back in and kind of see what's up. But in my opinion, we could theorize ahead of time and say that if Bitcoin's going to move above this $50,000 level, I think Ethereum will top out on the same day. A lot of bigger market cap stuff will essentially top out on a similar day. And then we could see things like XRP, XLM, HBAR, that kind of stuff get a little bit of liquidity injected into it after the fact, maybe 1 week later. Things like Theta, VeChain.
Mm.
Yeah. So we've already had enough confirmations. Now, one last confirmation that I need to discuss is this very specific 702 fib. So if we are to close a daily above this 702 fib, typically we have about 5 to 7 days of just moving to this final moment. And then, as I showed you in all of the 3 iterations that came before this, we instantly have a 30% correction. It's within 7 days after the move. So it looks like a blow off top. That's one thing to note. And the last thing to share that could be helpful for everyone is you want to look at the daily RSI. Remember the last time I gave warnings about XRP's RSI? It went exactly how I shared it. So this is not a joke. If Bitcoin's RSI goes to 87 to 89 on the daily, that will probably signal the short-term top. And given the fact that right now we have an RSI of about 81 and we're only trading at 44 and we're talking about a potential move to 54, that's perfect. What I see happening is probably a 52 to 54, maybe a little higher regarding Bitcoin, and that will match an RSI of about 87 to 89 and then lights out, probably a 30 to 40% correction pretty quickly. And then we could actually see Bitcoin bought right back up to above 40K before this monthly close. So
Mm.
whatever comes right now, it'll be like a flash energy. And I'm hearing talks about Bitcoin ETF approvals as early as the first week or second week of January. This makes so much sense to me. This really does. To have
I've
this type of energy first and then a big correction, then the big money buys it back. And
Yeah,
then,
it
March and
could
April are another story.
it could be one of those situations where uh, I think maybe they do a fake out and then delay till March, April because the SEC's done nothing but delay everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And based on what you're pointing out in the charts right now, what that looks like is a FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. Things are gonna pass, and then bummer news event.
Yeah, that does kind of align with what I'm feeling. And I think we talked about that the last time too, like how this ETF thing, it was used as a tool weeks ahead in advance to push the idea that Bitcoin's like going to do this or that. Nobody was really paying attention much to the charts. Everyone got blindsided by this continuation for Bitcoin and how
Mm-hmm.
it's keeping a lot of altcoins pretty suppressed still.
Yes.
So, all in all, this is a similar thing that's happened in past cycles. This is nothing new under the sun.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm curious to know. So I had seen that you referred to a similar movement that Bitcoin made in 2016. Why did you pick that specific moment? Do you think that we're potentially going to see some similar action to what we saw in 2016, 17? Or yeah, I'm just curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so the idea here is the fact that if you just pull a fib retracement from that prior all-time high to the swing low, so this would be going from these all-time highs in Q4 of 2013 down to essentially this double bottom level in August of 2015. And you see the way that Bitcoin You see the way Bitcoin interacts with this golden pocket? I mean, it's pretty much the way that we've been. You know, you see this slow grind that we have here all back in 2016. It seems to be pretty similar to what we've been dealing with today. When you look at the amount of time, we had two. Let me show you so we could be pretty clear. I'm going to turn all the noise off, make this nice and easy for everyone to see. This sideways grind took 220 something days. I mean, that is very much the essence of this 2016 cycle back here. Nothing like this move in 2018, 2019, where we just had what looked like a like a parabolic advance for Bitcoin. This was much more arduous, grinded, and took time. You know, if we see, look, 200 days before we broke out into that golden pocket. So here we have the same essential energy. We have 200 days choppy, and then boom, broke out into the golden pocket. It's identical. So I really like this 2016 cycle. I think it's pretty dope. I think it tells a story. Also, the fact that we're moving up before the halving again, kind of also making a lot of sense. The timing of everything. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much on track. The 4 year cycle deniers, like, I don't know what to call those people anymore. I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm just like, I know we've talked about this before that sometimes people want things to be different because it like supports this unique analysis they have. But there's a story being told every single cycle, and it's so cyclical with Bitcoin. What's there to deny? I mean, I could see with other altcoins that haven't had price discovery continuously during its entirety of its life cycle. But Bitcoin's a different
Mhm.
story. So what's beautiful about the Bitcoin play is if you just get really solid at understanding this chart, it'll help you gather a lot more intel on what's the likelihood and probability for everything else. You could just compare Bitcoin price action to Bitcoin dominance and just put two and two together and it'll tell you a lot.
I'm also curious to know. Let me see. Let me see. Is this specific move we're having now similar to what we experienced in March, April of 2017?
March, April of 2017. Let me go back there. No, because March, April of 2017, we were already retesting prior all-time highs.
Mm,
So yeah, no, I would have to talk about that condition, right? So as a technical analyst, we always want to see we want it to be relative to the overall cycle that we're in. And if we're still below all-time highs substantially, then yeah, we can't really entertain that similarity. So if we can call anything a similar pattern, it would be exactly what I just shared with everyone earlier. This move right here in the 2012 cycle into the golden pocket, you have this move right here in this 2016 cycle into the golden pocket, and then you have this move right here in this 2019 cycle into the golden pocket. We're just in the kind of, we're about 50% done with the move. So that means over the next week we could see some crazy shit go down in altcoins. Like that's just kind of the way this game is. Also,
mm,
speaking of I'm sure a lot of people are curious what's going on with XRP because that's been lagging at least since Bitcoin's had this breakout. And the last time we connected, I was talking about this move a lot, the one that we had right around that breakout with Ripple and SEC case development of XRP no longer being deemed a security. And we were pretty adamant about this 80 to 90 cent target before de-risking there to follow up with a pretty generous pullback. We got that
yeah.
pullback. And then talking about another move up and it being a little bit too fast, too soon, we discussed this daily RSI that I brought up a little bit earlier. Let's look at where that topped out. So it was exactly 88 on the RSI. I just told you moments ago about Bitcoin. You want to look at that daily RSI, 87 to 89. That's a lights out area. So these are technical things, guys. This isn't me getting all woo woo and esoteric with you, by the some people when they come to my channel, maybe if it's your first time coming to the channel, you might see me decoding and talking about lunar cycles and eclipses and all that. That just strengthens our thesis. But we can really just take the technicals at this point and be super accurate just off of that, you know?
Mm,
So XRP is good when it comes to trading, when you know some of these little nuggets of wisdom. Needless to say, with this pullback, now we did approach sub 60 cents level, which is a call that I was making that's probably the lowest you'll get on XRP for the foreseeable future is
Mm,
anything slightly below 60. And then the whole fractal that was playing out was here. Let me show you guys. So we already talked about the daily RSI getting overheated, followed by a rejection, and how we were able to utilize that indicator to determine that. So take note. Then we're going to pull up this 3-day chart. And I want to look at this red moving average specifically. If this can load a little bit quicker, I could turn off the other moving averages and then I can make it look nice and easy for everyone. So right now we just have the EMA, the 34 EMA on the 3-day. We're going back here to this moment where I'm going to do the play-by-play. This launch we had was allegedly because of all the stuff going on with Flare token airdrop. Then
absolutely. Yeah.
we had this huge correction because of the initial lawsuit of SEC versus Ripple. And what we see in this structure, this crown top structure, is this buyback. You could see how the following fractal is literally retesting the same levels, even though we're in the depths of that lawsuit. What I was comparing that to was this move over here. Coincidentally, it was because of an update with the SEC case. So we have the SEC case starting, XRP being called a security, and then over here, not a security. Same fucking fractal, same essence. And the idea here was that when we broke below this 34 EMA, we got up to it, rejected, and then once we started closing above it, we then recovered and then we moved on to another another leg up. So let's zoom in here. We have XRP no longer deemed a security, break below this red moving average, come back up, rejection, and that's about as good as it gets because then once we closed above it, since back tested over here, you could see after getting back above it, back tested. Then it was a little bit slow and boring before rocket ship time.
Mm,
So why I think this is important is because we're in this phase right there. We're
mm,
just kind of grinding. And then what I want you to pay attention to, you see this big green candle that comes in. What you want to see is a 3-day candle close above our local 3-day candle close highs. So we're going to go to where we are now. And what that tells me is we need to look at 79 cents. So just call it 80 cents. If we can see an 80-cent 3-day candle close for XRP, we're probably going to go straight to $1.40. So keep that in mind. And that would be like this move right here. I hope this makes sense to everyone.
and that can happen at any given moment.
Literally, and for no reason. We don't even need to have any updates with the case or any of that stuff. I mean, we know that any updates really don't matter anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean,
That's
XRP is technically trading lower than where it was during the beginning of the case.
mm,
So it tells you this is just because of Bitcoin and because of what the Fed was doing and because of the overall bullish essence behind altcoins, right? This was alt season. Everything was exciting. It was very greedy. Now it's just flipping greedy specifically on Bitcoin, but I don't think it's close when it comes to XRP.
yeah,
XRP, as you know, and all of your community knows, has so much upside potential. It's one of the most suppressed projects. It's a big reason I hold so much of it.
absolutely. I think a lot of people are going to miss out on opportunities because they don't pay attention to videos like this. You're just breaking it down based on the TA, giving us good price target ranges and it's less woo woo than someone being eternally bullish up to $10 in a straight line tomorrow, right? It's less woo woo than
That's true.
somebody coming out of left field and saying, "Oh, because of this XYZ story that I read, because Jerome Powell said XY." I'm like, that's not the best way to go about this game.
Yeah.
And I think you hammer home a great point that the work is there, the charts do speak, and I think they're speaking loudly to you. I'm I'm more open to. So you genuinely do think that there's going to be an aggressive 30 to 40% pullback right after this move with Bitcoin, huh?
Well, it's just what it's done before. I want to make everything clear. Like, this isn't Waters Above's opinion. I just showed
Mm,
you chart data over a decade old. the same move. You know, I really want to hammer that in for a lot of people because sometimes when people come to my channel, they think I have some specific bias to something. And it's like, as a technical analyst, I can't be opinionated. I can't be emotional. Or if I am, I have to delineate that. I have to tell you, this is my opinion. So the way I've kind of gotten in this whole game is I think we are like a year out from having ridiculous price discovery, right? So
Mm.
whatever's going on right now in the short term is just me keeping you updated, but generally if we have 3 cycles that have gone on creating 40% moves and then 30% pullbacks every time in the same confirmations, the same technical data, there's no opinions here, right? It's just what Bitcoin does. We don't really have the data to do that with things like XRP, for instance. We can't really do that with something like what a good example would be like Solana. You know, we just don't really have that type of data to say with 100% certainty it will do this. But when I'm seeing it happen in all of these iterations of Bitcoin, well, then that makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing to say is just the way the RSI looks right now. Like, in my opinion, I'll share my opinion. We're overheated. If we start getting into 88, 89 RSI, I mean, as a trader, I would start building a short position. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying that's what I would, if I wasn't even doing TA for an investment purpose and I was just doing it to make a swing trade, I would start building a short once I started seeing daily RSI at 80, 89, 88.
I'm curious to see what the chart looks like for Stellar. Is that something you could pull up, brother?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the reason I actually thought about this is because over the past year plus, a lot of people have asked me, "Hey, Bull, why does Stellar move exactly with XRP?" And there was that little move it had recently where there was some positive XRP news, and because of no other reason but XRP going up, Stellar moved as well. In regards to both the XRP and Stellar chart, what have you observed in regards to the correlation between how they move? Because I've seen them be exactly pegged 95% of the time.
Mhm.
And the only time I haven't really seen it peg is one move where Stellar actually, and I think that's it right there. One move where, no. It was in
No, those are
2020.
pretty much identical.
But there was a move in 2020, 2021 where Stellar was actually a higher price than XRP for a moment because of
Mhm.
the lawsuit. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I could pull up both and kind of just save them on different tabs and then see what we're working with here. So I think this Bitstamp chart gives me data going, yes, beautiful. So I'm on a 3 day here. I'm on a 3 day here. I'm going to turn off all the noise and then we could just kind of look A-B them. It's pretty fucking identical to me. I mean, yeah, the only thing that I could see with XRP is it had a much cleaner Wyckoff schematic. So we have a buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally. And this is like a Christmas tree automatic rally, super clean, but also super elusive.
Hmm.
None of that going on in XLM. I mean, it's just kind of this arduous, shaggy, very kind of shitcoin like movement. And then this explosive thing that happened into May, we could see that it was a little bit better to be an XRP because it only lost about 50 to 60%, whilst this was a much, much deeper correction, almost like a blow off top, about an 80% correction. And if you were to really bring it all the way down, about 85. So for me, this was like this would be like the end of a cycle feeling. And then this move right there was purely, I would assume, because of what happened with XRP. So even measuring percentages, if I took right around here, which is the most touch points I could possibly get horizontally, and I was to pull, got about 50,000% gains on XLM. And for that same move, we got about, yep, I mean, pretty much 50, 60,000%. So even in this past cycle, they moved pretty similarly. The only thing I could see that was different was this automatic rally AR structure. And since very, very similar. I mean, yeah, pretty much identical. My whole thing on XLM, I'll be very transparent here, is you're kind of betting on the second place horse. And that's fine if you like to like hedge your bets in some way, but I don't really feel like, and by the way, I'll be very, very transparent with everyone. I hold about maybe 1 to 2% of my portfolio in XLM. Like it's just there for shits and giggles, but this is not something that I'm treating like an XRP play.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you why. It's because of this moment right here. I don't like the fact that XLM did not go into price discovery. It didn't move into a new bull run during the SEC case against Ripple. So there's something that is so tethered to Ripple with this regarding the speculation of it all and why people invest in it that it's almost like people are investing in it the way that people invest in precious metals, where like they get a gold position and then they get a silver position because they want more ROI, right? We've heard that a lot. Like we've heard this kind of
Uh,
theme that there's way more ROI in silver. And that I don't even want to argue that, but like you feel where I'm at with this, brother. It seems that
Absolutely.
that's how people are investing in XLM. It never went into price discovery like a lot of other projects did. I mean, generally, the bull run that it had or the alt season that it had, we're looking at 1,500, 1,600% pulling from the same area. It outperformed XRP technically, but still, I mean, shape and the structure and all things considered, it was pretty similar from all the way back in 2018 to where we are today. So I'm not entirely sure I'm sold on this coin as being XLM, Stellar Lumens, as being some great, amazing opportunity outside of many other things. And if we're just getting involved in it because we're aware of the connections that it has and the similarities of communities between the two projects, then that's fine. Like I'm again just holding about 1 to 2% of it more as a venture capital play. But I'm not looking in it. I'm not taking it as seriously as I am the XRP play regarding the long term and the big picture. Now, if we get this whole market regulated and all the shitcoin memery goes to fucking Hades, then you'll see my stance on XRP pivot. Of course, again, I need to pivot. I need to adjust, just like you should all pivot and adjust. You know, if you were an e-commerce guy and you're still talking about fidget spinners, that's your bad.
I
But
mean,
if you were interested in it when it was a trend, you probably could have made six figures or more if you did it right. You got to adjust over time, you know? And I'm willing to kind of go with that flow too. Like I used to not be a gold holder. And then ever since the end of the Shemitah and the end of Jubilee, I adjusted because I'm aware of how that works, these 7 year cycles. So
it's
I'm not saying this as like that's my had like XLM is in the coffin for me. It's just at this time with my current investment thesis for this current cycle, I rather bet on the category winner, which is XRP.
to be fair, brother. I took a lot of offense of what you said about fidget spinners because I'm still to this day talking about fidget spinners and Ripple's the biggest one, brother.
You got a weed grinder fidget spinner?
No, 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 no. I wish. But it
But
was always
but
funny to me that at the time that I found out about Ripple, that was when fidget spinners were really viral. I was like, wow, because they have the same logo.
oh my god, yeah, that's so funny that what are the odds?
Uh, Dude, pretty high if you watch this channel.
Actually, I want to look up something really quick. This is a little bit more on the woo-woo side of things, but I think it could be valuable for your community. I want to look up the eclipses that happened in 2017 because I want to see if there was something going on in March. Okay, cool. So there was a solar eclipse on February 26th, and if we go to the chart right here, holy fuck, would you look at that? Look at where this is February 26th. It was the final moment before this thing just went straight line breakout. So the only
Okay.
reason I bring this up is because if you remember in our past interviews, I talked about how I do see a similar kind of essence coming for XRP, where we do have an explosive, like straight line breakout. I could see that being the case. And I'm open minded to this double cycle concept. It would be crazy, but again, a little bit more on the esoteric side. What we saw in the last year of the dragon moving into the year of the snake using Chinese zodiac was this type of bull run. And we saw it in Bitcoin as well. So This was back in that time frame where we see Bitcoin broke out and then it had a, pretty much a 200-day sideways move before finishing off in this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's keeping me open-minded that like that is a potential possibility because of the research I've been doing on the stock market. So I think that that's a possible thing to have happen. Like we could see an extended cycle with two tops. I know that's really hopium. Like that's gonna sound super hopium, but you should know me by now. I don't say this stuff unless I've been thinking about it and back testing it and considering all things, everything from the fucking charts to the global affairs to the esoteric stuff. Like I'm considering all things, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially if we're talking about a potential $22 to $25 XRP. I publicly stated that on the first time we got together that I see like a 15 to 25 as like an extended range for a blow off top. Well, I mean, we could go straight to 7, then kind of fuck around for a little bit sideways, and then boom, just straight line to 20, 22, 24, and then come back down, retest the 7, maybe dip back into 5, 4 in the following, in like we're talking 2025. And then that's actually a beautiful thing if you think about it, because then all of the accumulations that people had sub $1 makes you look like a fucking rock star now. And that's not weird for a coin to do that or a project to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't feel good while you're riding that roller coaster because if you weren't de-risking along the way, you're like, what's going on? But if you know the technicals, you know when things are overheated, and you have some sense of how to look at market cap overall and make some determinations off of that, then you should be in a good position. Or you could continue to watch Bearable Bull and Waters Above podcasts. You'll be updated.
So, from what I'm kind of getting from you, from what I've gathered over the past 40 minutes, I believe, we think that Bitcoin could be well on its way above 50K, possibly if we close above these levels. And that could also make way for a nice little uptrend opportunity for the altcoins. And specifically with XRP, we could hit that beautiful dollar plus dollar 40 level.
And
That sounds good.
that could all happen by the January new moon, which is, let me tell you the exact dates here for the XRP fam. So by January 11th, it
Would
could be
that be because that's a new moon, the day of the high?
we're talking about if Bitcoin is to move to 50, 52, 54, and we're still seeing XRP lagging, like only
Mm,
at 70 cents. Well,
yeah.
something's got to give. And the liquidity that leaves Bitcoin will bring a quick correction, but it's not going to affect XRP as much as, let's just say, it would affect Ethereum. Because ETH has
Mm,
been doing pretty similarly to Bitcoin as opposed to XRP is chilling, right?
yeah.
And it could bring a devastating pullback to something like Chainlink. You understand? Because Chainlink has been overly bullish lately. So it's
Yeah.
a balancing act. All right. I want people to think of it like that. It's just a balancing act. So we see a 54K Bitcoin. And if we're only seeing a 70-cent XRP, well, then XRP might correct with Bitcoin down to like 60 cents.
Mm,
And then after that liquidity will spill over, XRP moves up to about $1, $1.20, $1.40, depending. We have to check in on all the indicators. But what I see is there's this peak right here at $1.30, and then we have this one at $1.40. And where it's at when you zoom out across, the whole picture here is that's still below the 786 fib in the macro. And that's a very normal kind of swing to have at this stage of the cycle. It would just be catching up to Bitcoin. Like, honestly, because if Bitcoin gets to 54, it would be above the 786. That would just be XRP retesting it.
mm-hmm.
Like, again, it's suppressed and it's not as bullish. But let me let everyone know really quickly that confirmation we were talking about. It's a closure above the 702 fib. So if you don't have that in your fib tool, just add it in 702, and that sits at 44,300. So ideally seeing Bitcoin close above 44,300, 44,400, that should trigger a 5 to 7 day rally past 50K, or at least, I mean, at least 50K, at least, and then fold over just because it's overheated, but it's only going to last a moment, you know? I don't really think we're going to have too much dramatic downside unless we get hit with a black swan. And I just don't know what one could be right now at this point. I could see the reason to bring down Bitcoin and the overall crypto market for a little bit for this Bitcoin ETF nonsense. But other than that, I just don't really see. Yeah. I hope I'm answering your question.
No, that's perfect, actually. Um, hmm. Let's say we hit these levels for XRP and XRP retest, and you said that's the 786 for XRP. That would be 130, 140.
Yeah, that would be in the macro, like in the real big picture. If you took everything from the current all-time high down to the C19 crash, that would be getting us slightly below the 786. So you could see that right there. It's $1.60.
I see, I
Um,
see.
yeah, so that would kind of be the idea here. And that's a little bit up. That's a little bit too high for me. I mean, I would be fine with $1.30, anything like that. What I want is to clear this level because then it would give me a very bullish feeling. But let me teach everyone something for those that are new to Wyckoff method so you guys could kind of see what I'm basing all this stuff off of. So it's not just my opinion. Again, if people here don't know what Wyckoff method is, I essentially call it the market compass. It allows you to pull up any chart and within seconds pretty much see where you're at. You'll know where you're at when you're lost. When you have these blow off tops, this is a buying climax. This is when buying pressure is exhausted. There's no more buyers. This leads to a very dramatic correction. It could take a very long time. Sometimes in crypto, it happens very fast because of how volatile this asset is. Regarding XRP, it took a really long time. It took all the way from the beginning of 2018 to all the way in the start of Q1, or pretty much Q1 of 2020. After your buying climax, you have your selling climax. You have when selling pressure is exhausted. There's no more sellers. This is as low as it wants to go, and that is as low as it gets. And then what happens is you have a rebound off of that. It's called an automatic rally. Automatic rally is a bull trap because you don't go higher. You don't break prior all-time highs. And then that bull trap leads to a pretty substantial correction, a fake out. And then what you see after this is typically a retest of prior support. And here it's pretty clean. If you look at me holding my cursor where I'm at around 30, 32 cents, it was around that first initial peak when XRP went parabolic in the first cycle it ever had. And then if you see where I'm at, a majority of this horizontal trading range over here, these rejections, this rejection, this rejection, this rejection, and where we came back to at the end of alt season in 2021. So low 30s was as good as it got, technically. And what you want next is called an SOS, a sign of strength. And a sign of strength would be breaking above the automatic rally. To be a little bit more on point with this, I'm going to pull up a weekly chart because we're talking about a lot of data here. You know, we're talking about over 2,000 days of data. I'm going to put it on a area. So this gets rid of all the wicks and tails. And you could see that this level right there, it sits at $1.58, $1.60. So if we get a weekly close above $1.60, that'd be insanely bullish for XRP. Until then, we're still suppressed. We're still in a buying zone. Even if we didn't get in at 30 cents, I mean, 60 cents is pretty fucking good considering where the all-time high is and considering where we can go with price discovery.
I feel, forgive me for interrupting you, brother, but the kind of sense I'm getting at from you is that we could very well be seeing XRP at the lowest levels it'll be,
Yeah.
maybe ever again.
Well, what we can look at a couple things. I'm going to pull up a chart and see if I have some major trend lines that I've talked about in the past. I mean, this one's pretty clean right here. Let me go to candles and show you what's up. So we have this blue trend line I've been
Mm-hmm.
using pretty much since I started doing technical analysis. It starts you at the C19 crash, this back test right here before we went into this flare token distribution stuff. Then we back tested it on the SEC crash. And then after alt season, we tested it again and then continued to hold it as support all the way for about a year. Then when we first connected, I talked about this white trend line right there that we effectively broke, and that aligned perfectly with the last test on this bottom support line. So since we've been holding a higher low structure, which tells me that we will probably not go lower than 49.47 on like a macro candle closure. And as we speak, this is still technically in a higher lows territory. And considering the 382 fib is holding, and it's been holding for the past 3 weeks, going on fourth week this week, I mean, that's a good sign that this 382, I don't want to get specific and say it's 62 cents or it's six. Just consider that this 382 fib around 60 cents is a critical support level. It's most likely the lowest will stay on this asset, given this big picture I just painted for you.
This
So
is
effectively for me, it was the last time I bought XRP was below 60 cents, excuse me. I was looking at that 58 cent level as a great opportunity. And considering the next move up is going to be about 100%, and we're looking at, I mean, it really, really depends, because if it gets bullish in March, like we showed before, what happened in 2017, we could see an all-time high for XRP before we see an all-time high for Bitcoin.
well, that's real interesting.
It is. It is
That's
very
real
interesting.
interesting.
And it only has to do with the fact that it was suppressed throughout the whole last cycle. So Bitcoin had a typical price discovery cycle. XRP did not, because of this SEC case. So think about it. I mean, if Bitcoin could make it up to 50,000, 54,000, roll over, go to 38, 37, get bought back, go to 42, stay there into the new year, then keep that 40K level, keep that 39K level ish in general throughout February, that's going to roll over liquidity into the altcoins. People got to
Mm.
consider that. And it's an election year. So, they're going to do whatever they can to distract you with fucking politics. And they're going to distract people with CTF shit. And then they're going to they're going to do what they do best. Look here, don't look here.
I don't hear any sense of FOMO from you, but simply you're just telling people what you see. That is what I hear. But a lot of people could misinterpret this as FOMO, my friend. But
I get that.
I don't hear that from you.
I get that. I want people to understand that you have to think between right now and June as pretty solid time to dollar cost average into this stuff. So if you're brand new to my work and you're resonating with what's going on here, don't feel like you're late. Okay. I mean, this might be a good time to just pivot and talk a little bit about like market psychology and the ways of the wizard. Like if everyone's excited and getting greedy, that's time for you to not be. Like, I gotta admit, with what I've seen go on for the past month, like we're not just talking about today or the last week, like pretty much the last month, where we're getting isolated coins go up 30%, 40%. And everyone's like, yo, Waters, why aren't you talking about that? And I'm like, you want to know why I'm not talking about it? Because you have FOMO. That's why you're talking about it. Like, this is a trap, fam. Like if you're loading up Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko to just look at the top gainers, you're not a fucking investor. I'm sorry, but like you need to look at opportunities. Somebody needs to speak the truth here and get ready for 2024. Like all these O-face YouTubers going to come out of the woodwork talking about
Out of the woodwork. They
3,000%
weren't
gain.
with us shooting videos at peak disinterest through the
Right.
rubble.
Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna show up like out of a fucking manhole in New York City, like a sewer rat talking about buy this thing when it's already up. Like my game here is very simple. You buy the blood or you buy the boredom. I like buying boredom because boredom lasts longer. And that's typically a much more sophisticated way to move. When it gets exciting, it's obvious what you should do, counter the market. So I think that we're at a time right now where we I hope. I just hope that this calm demeanor gets people to finally take action. Excuse me. I hope it gets them to finally take action in the next cycle because, since our first interview together, I talked about, and it's probably how you first sort of heard about me, about my moves that I made in March, April of 2021 with XRP, de-risking around a dollar 40, 50, 60, etc. And I was getting crucified back then for being open about that. And it was surprising to me how I was treated. But now that I think about it, it was because I was a new channel, right? And that's to be expected. And there's nothing wrong. I could take the punches. It doesn't bother me, obviously. But what it allowed me to do is just analyze the way people are. Because that was especially when XRP, the community in general, was really riding the wave of these like crazy upside targets, right? So to hear somebody coming out and saying that, no, this is probably a good time to de-risk in this moment, I could see that being like really harsh to accept that reality. And I get it. And since then, we've had so many of these moves de-risked at the exact tops and buying back at these big moves down, getting in at, a really amazing average considering. Well, I think it's getting people to see that like you can take action on this coin. I get that a lot of people have this like 589 dream, but come on, like you can't just go 4 years and not accept this truth that there was a lot of opportunity here on this. And I'm not trying to say this to make people feel bad or to feel like they made the wrong play or any of that. It's just we're in a very speculative asset class family. And like the world is moving into crazy territory that we've never seen before. Right.
Mhm.
We know that the controllers can just flip into a new narrative instantaneously and push you however they want to push you. We all went through that with C19. Like this is the world we're in now, where there's a lot of people with a lot of access to data because we all are walking around with a computer in our pockets so they can distract us the easiest way they've ever distracted us. And when you're holding onto a gold mine here, what do you think they need to do with you? They need to fucking make you emotional. They need to make you confused and disoriented, the opposite emotion that you should be. So moving into 2024, I hope when these opportunities present themselves, people do take action. You don't go to your grave with your hardware wallet full of a bunch of XRP.
Dude, I don't know if you want to cover something else, but I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really if you have any questions, you have any things that are on your mind. I think we talked about a lot of the confirmations, a lot of the things to look out for, some of the moves to be expected on XRP. We could literally see a $1 XRP by the very end of this year, if not the very beginning, first week of the 2024 year. So that's
Mm.
really, really incredible to see that flip so quickly. And if we're going to see that type of move in XRP, then of course we're going to see that across the board. So I hope
Yeah.
everyone just kind of considers their venture capital right now, and how they're going to build it effectively and dollar cost average. Don't FOMO in like you're not late. Last thing I'll say that could be important, and maybe it'll lead to any other questions you have is I've done my research on the Bitcoin halving, and it seems to be that 50 days before the Bitcoin halving is about as good as it gets regarding final buying opportunities that are discounted. So Bitcoin halving is predicted to be somewhere around April. And if we were to just put it into like the third week of April and go back 50 days, that puts us right there to the end of February. And that would be the February full moon. So I'm giving you game early. The February full moon is about as good as it gets. Just consider the end, the third week of February. If you're somebody who's worried and thinking that you're late and that you don't, right, whatever's going on for you right now, like you still have some time to be building heavily discounted positions. And still, even after that, 50 days after the Bitcoin halving typically isn't as good unless we were to get one of these again, which that was a very specific moment in our reality,
Mm.
undeniably. Unless we were to get something like that, yeah, we're more than likely following what we've seen every single time for Bitcoin. And oh, by the way, I mean, look, this was your halving day, just so I can prove what I'm saying. This is your halving day. And 59 days before that was your bottom of that crash. So it still fulfills what I've shared that 50 days before. So we go over here to this halving, and you could see 50 days before were these absolute lows before we continued up for the rest of that cycle. Then we could go to this halving over here.
What an interesting observation.
I'd have to pull up another chart. But yeah, you guys could do this as well. You could just pull up all the Bitcoin halving dates, and then you could go to the index chart or some long-term chart, and you could prove it for yourself. So we have over here, we have the Bitcoin halving, and you could see actually we were about 34 days early. Over here, about 100 days on this absolute low. But generally, the point is that within around those 2 months before, you have much better opportunities than you do after. That's kind of what the point is that you want to buy before the halving, not after. Altcoins after the halving, sure, because alts can go up 1,000, 2,000, 10,000%, right?
So in a scenario like this, would you be accumulating Bitcoin first and rolling that over into other coins, or
Right now, I'll tell everyone my exact play, and don't copy me, but I'm just being transparent. Is that I'm looking to de risk the Bitcoin that I bought earlier in this year, which is an average about 22K, 23K Bitcoin. I'm looking to de risk it somewhere around 51, 52. And then if we have that pullback, anything below that 34 level, I'm probably going to be just using that same amount to scoop up the same amount or just the dollar amount so that way I could accumulate more Satoshis. And that'll probably be my last time buying Bitcoin unless we continue to have some like low and sideways energy. Um, I'm moving on to altcoins now. And my goal at this stage of the run, we're effectively like in what I would call phase two of a bull run. Now I'm looking more to accumulate token amount and not look at it from the dollar perspective as much, right? So like kind of like everyone's goal should be to have a Bitcoin. I don't know. Most people probably don't resonate with that or they think it's too expensive, but it's just a kind of like me giving you an example, right?
Mhm.
So for you, it's having 10,000 XRP, then beautiful. That's kind of like a better way of looking at it than being like, I have $10,000 of XRP. That's my mind frame. And I'm just going to accumulate all the way until I feel that a particular asset is starting to get a little bit closer to overvalued. But as long as things are this suppressed, I'm taking action. There's some stuff that I'm interested in that I'm not buying. Like I don't want to buy any chain link right now. Like I don't like where it went too fast, too soon. It pretty
Mhm.
much automatic rallied, in my opinion. So if we are to see a 30% correction in Bitcoin, I think this thing could actually break down to 11 again, maybe even 10, and stay suppressed this whole time Bitcoin goes up to 54K because it moved up too fast, too soon. Another thing that I was thinking about getting into, but I'm probably not gonna, is Solana. um yeah, like this did the same move and it's acting exactly like Chainlink. Like it's making lower highs since Bitcoin has been breaking out higher. You see what's going on here, family? Like
Mhm.
got to take note of this shit. So if Solana comes all the way down to this major trend line, it trades at like 25, getting below this 382, below $30, I might nibble a little bit. Same thing with Chainlink. But like we just have so many coins to pick from. It's like I don't care. Like it doesn't make me feel better having a particular project. I'd rather be patient and just not let the market come to me. So I have other things on my radar this cycle.
Understood. Understood. Hey, brother, I think we covered all our bases this time around. Dotted some I's, crossed some T's, and have given away some good game plans and gems, to say the least. Um,
Absolutely.
if you want to go through any other coin, that's completely up to you. But I think for right now, that's good to go from my end.
Yeah, brother. Let's connect maybe in a month or so, see how XRP has done. And if it breaks out to that dollar, maybe we could do a last minute kind of get together update. But other than that, I think
Celebration, popping bottles. I know, I know.
yeah, well, I think we've covered more than enough, given some pretty important nuggets of wisdom along the way as well.
Excellent, excellent. But no, to everyone at home, I hope you guys got a lot of value from our discussion today. If you guys have any questions, write a comment down below. Send a little maybe tag tweet on Twitter. Maybe we'll see it. I'll try to respond if I do. Waters, you're always a beacon of light in this community. Thank you for shining a light where for a lot of people there's not one. And yeah, look forward to speaking with you again soon. Much love, brother.
Much love, brother. I appreciate you.